Hi, welcome back to the Coin Studio. Imagine holding a small bronze coin that looks like pocket change but is actually worth $86,000. That's the jaw-dropping price the rarest Australian halfpenny has sold for at auction. Today we're counting down the top 10 most valuable Australian halfpennies, revealing the fascinating history, minting secrets, and collector demand that make each one a true treasure. Let's moving on. Number 10. 1938 Australian Halfpenny. The 1938 Australian halfpenny is a coin that marks a fascinating point in Australia's numismatic history, blending artistry, political symbolism, and scarcity in a way that still captivates collectors nearly a century later. Struck at the Melbourne Mint, this coin carries the familiar reverse design by George Kruger Gray, featuring the bounding kangaroo symbol that had become deeply tied to Australian identity by the time this piece was issued. The kangaroo is framed by the words Australia above and halfpenny below, with the date 1938 placed neatly in the excerpt. The obverse presents the dignified portrait of King George V, designed by Thomas Humphrey Paget, which replaced the effigy of his father, George V, following the king's accession in 1936. This coin is particularly notable because it was among the early years of George V coinage, and it was produced in an era when the global economy was recovering from the Great Depression while tensions leading to World War II were beginning to mount. What makes the 1938 halfpenny desirable is not merely its age, but its relatively low survival rate in pristine condition. While the official mintage exceeded 6 million pieces, the majority were heavily circulated in daily commerce, exposed to wear, dents, and environmental damage. High-grade examples, especially those graded by PCs or NGC at levels like Miss 65 or Miss 66 with full original mint luster, are exceedingly rare. In gem condition, these coins often exhibit a sharp strike with clear definition on the king's facial features, along with minimal contact marks. Collectors particularly prize specimens with vibrant red or red-brown copper surfaces, as most surviving coins have mellowed to a darker brown patina over the decades. From a collector's perspective, the 1938 halfpenny holds both historical and aesthetic appeal. It represents a period of national pride and Australian symbolism, as well as a shift in royal imagery on coinage. The kangaroo design, already beloved, continued to strengthen its association with Australia's international identity, while the fresh obverse portrait signaled the beginning of a new royal era. Coins from this period also reflect the quality of minting techniques at Melbourne, where attention to detail and die preparation were still held to high standards. For the investor, the rarity of high-grade examples ensures that demand remains strong, particularly among those seeking to complete a top-tier George V Australian copper set. Today, the 1938 Australian halfpenny in average circulated condition is relatively accessible, but in the highest grades it becomes a true trophy piece. A well-preserved, fully lustrous example with exceptional eye appeal can command impressive prices at major auctions. For instance, one remarkable specimen, rated Miss 66 red by PCs, achieved a high-grade market value of around $25,000 USD, a figure driven by its exceptional preservation, blazing color, and the intense competition among serious collectors. In the world of Australian pre-decimal copper, the 1938 halfpenny remains a shining gem for those who appreciate rarity, design, and historical depth combined in one coin. Number 9. 1927 Australian Halfpenny. The 1927 Australian halfpenny is a coin that holds a special place in the nation's numismatic heritage, not only because of its age but because it was struck during a time of social change, political development, and growing national identity in the interwar years. Struck at the Melbourne Mint, this coin features the pre-1939 reverse design created by Blakemore, which prominently displays the words Commonwealth of Australia in a ring around the central inscription halfpenny, with the date placed neatly at the bottom, unlike the later kangaroo verse. This earlier design was more formal, emphasizing national unity and authority rather than wildlife imagery. On the obverse, we see the dignified portrait of King George V, designed by Sir Edgar Bertram McKenna L., a portrait that had graced Australian coinage since 1911 and had become a familiar sight in every household's pocket. The 1927 halfpenny is historically significant because it emerged at a time when Australia was experiencing both economic optimism and underlying tensions. The decade following World War I had seen significant national development, but by the mid to late 1920s, the global economy was on the edge of collapse, with the Great Depression only 2 years away. Despite a mintage of approximately 3.5 million pieces, many were heavily used in commerce, meaning that high-grade survivors are surprisingly scarce. Most surviving examples exhibit heavy wear, rim bruises, or environmental damage, as copper coins were particularly prone to corrosion in Australia's varied climates. From a design perspective, the coin embodies the style and authority of the British Empire while serving the practical needs of a young nation. The McKenna L. portrait of King George V is admired for its regal yet approachable style, and when struck sharply, details like the king's hair and the beading around the rim stand out beautifully. Collectors particularly value coins that retain their regional red or red-brown coloration, as most examples have toned to a chocolate brown over the decades. In higher mint-state grades, the 1927 half-penny reveals a crisp strike, strong denticles, and clean fields, a combination that is exceedingly hard to find. The rarity of pristine examples makes this coin a cornerstone for serious collectors of pre-decimal Australian copper. Completing a George V halfpenny series in mint state is a challenging task, and the 1927 issue is one of the more elusive dates in superb condition. At auction, competition is fierce when a fully lustrous, sharply struck example appears, as many advanced collections are missing a truly premium specimen. For investors, the coin offers a combination of historical significance, scarcity and high grade, and visual appeal, making it a long-term value hold in the Australian numismatic market. In terms of market value, the difference between a common circulated piece and a top-grade example is dramatic. While worn coins can be obtained for modest sums, a superb gem graded is 65 red by a top grading service can command substantial attention and bidding wars. One such remarkable example, displaying nearly full original red color, minimal contact marks, and exceptional eye appeal, recently achieved a high-grade market value of approximately $26,000 USD, underscoring just how coveted this date becomes when it appears in near-perfect condition. For those who seek the finest Australian copper coins, the 1927 halfpenny is a must-have, a coin that combines rarity, history, and undeniable beauty in equal measure. Number 8. 1919 Australian halfpenny. The 19 Australian halfpenny is a coin that embodies the transitional era of post-World War I Australia, capturing a unique blend of historical, political, and economic narratives within its small copper surface. Struck at the Melbourne Mint, the coin bears the earlier reverse design by Blakemore, which was standard for Australian bronze coins from 1911 until the change to the King drum motif in 1939. This reverse features Commonwealth of Australia in bold lettering around the perimeter, encircling the denomination halfpenny with the date 1919 neatly positioned below. Its obverse carries the effigy of King George V, created by Sir Edgar Bertram McKenna L., which presents the monarch in a left-facing profile wearing the imperial crown, a design rich with imperial symbolism, reflecting Australia's status within the British Empire. The year 1919 was a pivotal one for Australia. World War I had ended in November 1918, and the nation was navigating the social and economic challenges of demobilization, reintegration of soldiers, and the aftershocks of a global conflict that had touched nearly every household. Inflation, material shortages, and industrial unrest characterized the period, and small denomination coins like the halfpenny played a crucial role in everyday commerce, from buying bread to paying tram fares. As such, the vast majority of 1919 halfpennies saw heavy circulation, which means that surviving high-grade examples are extremely scarce today. Minted in significant numbers, over 5 million pieces, the 1919 halfpenny might appear common at first glance, but its rarity emerges in mint state. Copper coins are particularly vulnerable to environmental damage, oxidation, and surface spotting, and Australia's oft humid climate did little to preserve their original condition. Coins struck in 1919 often exhibit a relatively soft flake on the king's hair and the beading along the rim. So finding an example with both a sharp strike and full original reed or red-brown color is a challenge that excites advanced collectors. Another aspect that makes the 19 halfpenny attractive to collectors is its historical resonance. It is part of the first decade of Australia's own national coinage, pre-decimal issues introduced in 1911, which replaced British pennies and halfpennies in local circulation. For many collectors, the 19 issues is at the intersection of heritage and scarcity, making it a necessary acquisition for those aiming to build a complete George V opera set in top condition. It also holds appeal for investors seeking coins with a tangible link to Australia's formative years as a federated nation. At major coin auctions, when an example surfaces graded Ms 65 or higher, particularly one certified as full read by PCs or NGC, it attracts significant attention. These coins command premium prices not only for their rarity, but also for their eye appeal bright, lustrous surfaces free of distracting marks are a rarity for the state. One outstanding specimen graded Ms 65 red, blazing with near-perfect mint brilliance and sharply struck details, achieved a high-grade market value of around $37,500 USD, a testament to the fierce demand among serious Australian copper specialists. For collectors, the 1919 halfpenny is not just a coin, it is a piece of living history, a survivor from an era of rebuilding and transformation. Number 7. 1921 Australian Halfpenny. The 1921 Australian halfpenny stands as one of the most desirable copper issues of the George V era, combining low mintage, historical significance, and scarcity in exceptional grades to create a coin that collectors dream about acquiring. Produced at the Melbourne Mint, this coin features the Pekinga reverse by Hub Blakemore, with Commonwealth of Australia proudly arching along the rim, surrounding the denomination halfpenny and the date 1921 at the base. The obverse bears the regal effigy of King George V by Sir Edgar Bertram McKenna L., with fine details in the crown, mustache, and robe that, when well struck, show remarkable artistry for a small bronze coin. The year 1921 was marked by both global and domestic transitions. Internationally, the world was emerging from the devastation of World War I, yet still dealing with economic aftershocks, trade disruptions, and political instability. In Australia, the early 1920s brought a mix of optimism and hardship. The country was adjusting to peacetime conditions, but unemployment, inflation, and labor unrest remained persistent issues. Coin production during this period was tailored closely to actual circulation needs, and the 1921 halfpenny was struck in relatively low numbers, only about 1.4 million pieces, making it one of the scarcer issues of the entire George V halfpenny series. This scarcity is compounded by the fact that the overwhelming majority of these coins entered heavy circulation. Copper coins were the workhorses of the economy, constantly changing hands for small purchases, and few were set aside in uncirculated condition. Over the decades, environmental exposure, Cleaning and mishandling have further reduced the pool of high-grade survivors. Today, most examples encountered are in heavily worn grades, with smooth details, flattened lettering, and dulled surfaces. For collectors, the challenge lies in finding a well-struck, original mint state coin with full red or red-brown luster. Due to the Melbourne Mint's production practices in the early 1920s, strikes can vary, with some coins showing weakness in the king's hair or the reverse lettering. This makes any fully detailed, lustrous specimen an immediate standout in the competitive world of Australian pre-decimal copper collecting. The 1921 halfpenny is a recognized key date in higher grades, often ranking alongside the famous 1923 halfpenny in desirability, though the latter is rare. The 1921 in gem condition can be equally elusive. Market demand for this coin is robust, and when a top-quality example surfaces, it often becomes the highlight of a major Australian coin auction. Collectors are willing to pay substantial premiums for coins that combine rarity with visual appeal. An outstanding example graded is 65 red by PCs, with immaculate surfaces and a bold strike, achieved a high-grade market value of approximately $29,000 USD, reflecting its standing as a cornerstone of any serious Australian halfpenny collection. For numismatists and investors alike, the 1921 halfpenny offers not only a beautiful design and a tangible link to Australia's emperor history, but also a scarcity factor that ensures its value and appeal will endure for generations to come. Number 6. 1923 Australian Halfpenny. The 1923 Australian halfpenny is widely regarded as one of the most legendary and coveted coins in the entire history of Australian pre-decimal copper coinage. Standing alongside the famous 1930 penny has a holy grail for collectors. This coin's fame comes not just from its scarcity, but from the circumstances of its production, the aura of mystery surrounding its exact mintage, and the fierce competition it sparks when it appears at auction. Struck at the Melbourne Mint, the coin features the earlier pre-Kangaroo reverse design by Blakemore, with Commonwealth of Australia around the perimeter, the denomination halfpenny at the center, and the date 1923 neatly placed below. The above showcases Sir Edgar Bertram McKenna's left-facing portrait of King George V, crowned and robed, symbolizing both the strength of the British monarchy and Australia's place within the empire. The key reason the 1923 halfpenny has achieved legendary status is its incredibly low mintage, estimated at fewer than 15,000 coins. This mint production was the result of unusual circumstances. Records suggest that no halfpennies were scheduled for production in 1923, but a small run was struck using leftover dies to meet an urgent need for small change in circulation. Because the coin was not officially recognized as a special issue at the time, virtually all of the pieces entered immediate circulation, and no one thought to set aside mint state examples for collectors or archives. The result is that the coin is vanishingly rare in any condition, and in uncirculated grades, it is one of the great rarities of Australian coinage. Surviving examples often show extensive wear, rim nicks, and environmental damage from decades of use. Copper coins were the workhorses of everyday commerce, and the 1923 halfpenny's small size and heavy use ensured that pristine specimens were virtually non-existent by the time collectors began to take interest in Australian pre-decimal coins in the mid-20th century. Today, even a heavily worn example in fine condition is a prized possession, while any coin graded extremely fine or higher is considered extraordinary. High-grade specimens command immense respect in the numismatic community, both in Australia and internationally. When an example in mint state appears at a major auction, it becomes a headline event. The coin's desirability is driven by its position as a key to the series for George V halfpennies. meaning that any collector wishing to complete the set must eventually face the challenge of acquiring one. In terms of market performance, the 1923 halfpenny has a long track record of appreciating steadily, making it as much an investment vehicle as it is a collector's treasure. One remarkable example graded is 64 Brown by PCs, considered among the finest known, exhibited full, bold strike with crisp details in the king's portrait and lettering, along with smooth, lustrous fields. This coin sold for a staggering high-grade market value of approximately $64,000 USD, underscoring its near-mythical status in Australian numismatics. For serious collectors, owning a 1923 halfpenny is more than just filling a gap in a set. It's a badge of accomplishment, a testament to perseverance, and a connection to one of the most intriguing chapters in Australia's coinage history. Number 5. 1911 Australian Halfpenny. The 1911 Australian halfpenny holds a unique place in history as the very first halfpenny struck for the newly federated Commonwealth of Australia. Before this, Australians used British pennies and halfpennies. But the passage of the Australian Coinage Act in 1909 paved the way for distinct national coinage. Struck at the Royal Mint in London, the 1911 halfpenny marked the birth of Australia's own pre-decimal copper currency, introducing designs that would remain in use for nearly 3 decades. The reverse, created by Blakemore, displays a formal and symmetrical layout, with Commonwealth of Australia encircling the denomination halfpenny and the date 1911 at the base. This design emphasized the nation's unity and identity within the empire, projecting a sense of stability and authority. The obverse features the left-facing crown portrait of King George V by Sir Edgar Bertram McKenna L. This portrait was new to Australian coins in 1911, as George V had only ascended to the throne in 1910 following the death of Edward V. The portrait's fine detail, the crown's crossbody, the king's mustache, and the delicate beading around the rim shows the craftsmanship of the Royal Mint at its peak. Historically, 1911 was a year of optimism for Australia. Federation was still less than a decade old, and the country was eager to establish its own symbols and economic independence. The introduction of its own coinage was a significant step in asserting a national identity, and the 1911 halfpenny was a physical representation of that pride. While the mintage was large, over 3 million coins, the majority entered heavy circulation, often for decades, as copper coins were durable and indispensable for everyday purchases like tram fares, bread, and newspapers. For collectors, the 1911 halfpenny offers both historical significance and aesthetic appeal. It represents the starting point of the Australian halfpenny series, making it essential for any complete collection. While common in lower grades, truly high-grade examples are scarce, especially those with their original full red or red-brown copper luster intact. The coin's Lund and mint origin often resulted in excellent strikes, but preservation has been the main challenge over the past century. In the marketplace, the value of a 1911 halfpenny depends heavily on condition. Average circulated examples are readily available, but superb circulated pieces are much harder to acquire. Collectors look for coins with bold detail, clean fields, and minimal contact marks, qualities that are rare after more than 110 years. At a recent auction, an extraordinary specimen, rated Miss 66, read by PCs, with blazing copper brilliance and razor-sharp details, achieved a high-grade market value of about $40,000 to $1,800 USD. This result reflects both the demand for first-year issues in exceptional condition and the deep respect collectors have for the origins of Australia's coinage. For numismatists, the 1911 halfpenny is more than a coin, it's the foundation stone of a proud national currency tradition. Number 4. 1915 Australian Halfpenny. The 1915 Australian halfpenny is one of the standout issues in the George V. Copper series. combining a low-mintage, wartime historical significance and a certain mystique due to its branch mint origins. Struck at the London branch of the Royal Mint. This coin features the pre-1939 reverse design by Blakemore, with Commonwealth of Australia encircling the denomination halfpenny and the date 1915 at the base. The obverse bears Sir Edgar Bertram McKenna Owl's left-facing crown portrait of King George V, which was introduced to Australian coins in 1911 and by 1915 had become an emblematic image of imperial authority and national unity. What sets the 1915 issue apart is that it is one of the scarcer early halfpennies. Australia was in the midst of World War I in 1915, and the demands of the war placed immense strain on the country's resources, including its minting capacity. As a result, production of coinage was supplemented by the Royal Mint in London, which struck coins for Australia to help meet domestic circulation needs. This was not unusual for the era, but it does give the 1915 halfpenny a special place in numismatic history, as it represents an international cooperative effort during one of the most challenging periods of the 20th century. Its mintage of just over 1.1 million pieces was modest compared to other halfpenny dates of the period, immediately setting it on a path to becoming a semi-key date. The majority of these coins were released directly into heavy circulation, where they served the everyday needs of Australians for decades. Consequently, most surviving examples are heavily worn, often with flattened details in the king's hair and crown, as well as rim bumps from long use. Copper's vulnerability to environmental factors, especially in Australia's diverse and often humid climate, means that corrosion, pitting, and discoloration are common. Finding a well-preserved example with sharp strike detail and original color is a serious challenge for collectors. Fully lustrous red or red-brown uncirculated specimens are rare and command significant premiums. London mint strikes tend to be of high technical quality, but even so, the passage of more than a century has left few coins in pristine condition. Collectors also pay close attention to small eye varieties, plankett flaws, and strike sharpness when assessing value. The 1915 halfpenny is sought not only for its scarcity, but for its context. Owning one is like holding a small, tangible piece of wartime Australia, an artifact of a nation that was still young, proud, and heavily engaged in global events. In the current market, demand for this date is consistently strong. At auction, a stunning example graded Miss 65 red by PCs, with glowing copper brilliance, needle-sharp detail, and immaculate surfaces, achieved a high-grade market value of about $39,750 USD. Such sales underscore the coin's standing as one of the more desirable pre-decimal copper issues and a cornerstone for any advanced Australian halfpenny collection. Number 3. 1939 Australian Halfpenny Kangaroo Reverse. The 1939 Australian halfpenny is a landmark in the nation's numismatic history because it introduced one of the most beloved and enduring designs ever to appear on Australian coinage, the kangaroo reverse. This was the first year the old Commonwealth of Australia reverse, used since 1911, was replaced with the new design by George Kruger Gray, which features a bounding kangaroo facing left, set against a clean field with Australia above, halfpenny below, and the date 1939 in the excerpt. This bold modern design reflected a growing sense of Australian national identity, moving away from purely imperial symbolism to imagery that was uniquely and recognizably Australian. The obverse remained the dignified crown portrait of King George V by Thomas Humphrey Paget, introduced in 1938 following the abdication of Edward V. The pairing of the fresh obverse portrait with the new reverse design in 1939 created one of the most visually appealing coin types in Australian numismatics, and it marked the beginning of a design tradition that would continue until decimalization in 1966. Historically, The 1939 issue came at a pivotal moment. Australia was still feeling the economic aftershocks of the Great Depression. But by September of that year, the world was once again at war following Germany's invasion of Poland. Australia entered World War II alongside Britain, and the coinage of 1939 quickly became tied to that turbulent period. While over 6.4 million halfpennies were minted that year, the change in design makes the date highly significant, and its first year of type status ensures collector demand remains strong. Adding to the appeal, there are two main varieties of the 1939 halfpenny: the kangaroo reverse, the new design, and the scarceroo reverse proof strikes, which were prepared for presentation sets and collectors. Regular business strikes were heavily used in circulation, and while circulated examples are common, high-grade and circulated coins with full red copper color are much harder to find. The Melbourne Mint's production quality was generally high, but the large flat fields of the kangaroo reverse make any marks or discoloration more noticeable, which is why superbly preserved coins are especially prized. For collectors, the 1939 kangaroo reverse halfpenny represents a perfect blend of artistry, history, and collectability. It's a must-have for type collectors and a highly desirable piece for those specializing in George V copper coinage. Many view it as a symbolic turning point in Australian coin and a sign of bold statement of national character in the years leading up to the nation's involvement in the global conflict. In the market, ordinary circulated examples can be found without difficulty, but gem and circulated pieces, especially those graded Ms 66 read by PCs or NGC, are rare and command impressive premiums. One such dazzling example, with blazing red luster and a perfect strike showing every detail of the kangaroo's fur and the king's features, sold for a high-grade market value of approximately $58,000 USD. For many collectors, owning a 1939 kangaroo reverse halfpenny in pristine condition is more than just acquiring a coin, it's acquiring a piece of national pride and a cornerstone in the story of Australian numismatics. Number 2. 1930 Australian Halfpenny. The 1930 Australian halfpenny is one of the rarest and most storied copper coins in Australia's pre-decimal history, second only in fame to its larger cousin, the 1930 penny. For decades, this coin remained largely overlooked by the general public, but among dedicated numismatists, it has been recognized as a true scarcity and a keystone of the George V halfpenny series, struck at the Melbourne Mint during the height of the Great Depression. The 1930 halfpenny carries the familiar pre-1939 reverse design by Blakemore, with Commonwealth of Australia encircling the central halfpenny inscription and the date 1930 position below. The obverse presents Sir Edgar Bertram McKenna L's left-facing portrait of King George V, crowned and robed in full imperial regalia, a design that had already graced Australian copper coins for nearly 2 decades. The year 1930 was a year of unprecedented economic hardship in Australia. The Great Depression had taken hold. Unemployment rates were devastatingly high, and government spending was sharply curtailed. Demand for new coinage was minimal, as coins already in circulation easily met the reduced transaction needs of the struggling economy. Consequently, mintages for many denominations were small, and in the case of the halfpenny, the total number struck was significantly lower than in most years. Exact production records are incomplete, but experts estimate a mintage of only around 300,000 pieces, tiny compared to other years. Most of these coins went directly into heavy circulation, where they served in countless small transactions for decades. As a result, surviving examples in high grade are exceptionally rare. The 1930 halfpenny is challenging to locate even in fine condition, and extremely fine or better examples are genuine prizes. Copper's vulnerability to wear, environmental damage, and improper storage means that the original mint luster is seldom seen on this date. and most coins exhibit dark, chocolate brown toning or uneven coloration. For collectors, the 1930 half-penny holds significance beyond its rarity. It represents a tangible artifact of one of the hardest years in Australian economic history. It is a coin whose scarcity was born from necessity rather than design, a direct reflection of a time when the nation's production of basic goods, including currency, was dramatically reduced. Because it is a recognized semi-key date in the George V series, it is in constant demand among advanced collectors seeking to complete their sets. When a high-grade example surfaces at auction, it invariably sparks fierce bidding. Coins graded DO58 or higher by PCs or NGC are seldom offered, and gem-and-circulated examples are virtually unknown. One remarkable specimen, rated Miss 60 for brown, displaying a strong strike, smooth chocolate surfaces, and flashes of original mint thread, sold for a high-grade market value of approximately $35,500 USD. For serious numismatists, acquiring a 1930 halfpenny is an achievement in itself, a reward for patience, dedication, and persistence in the pursuit of Australia's most elusive copper coinage. Number 1. 1916 Australian halfpenny Mule. The 1916 Australian halfpenny Mule is one of the most extraordinary and mysterious rarities in all of Australian numismatics, a coin that occupies the very top tier of desirability, rarity, and intrigue. This coin owes its existence to a fascinating minting blunder in Calcutta, India, where Australian bronze coins were struck during World War I to supplement domestic production. The I-mint mark located above the date identifies the coin as having been minted in India, but the Mule variety is the result of a mismatched pairing of dies. The obverse I intended for an Australian penny with its larger design elements was accidentally paired with the reversed I of a halfpenny. This striking error created a coin with an obverse that appears slightly off in relation to the reverse, a subtle but significant difference that trained collectors can spot. Mule coins are inherently rare because they occur by accident, and once discovered, the incorrect die pairing is typically corrected quickly by the mint. In the case of the 1916 Mule halfpenny, extremely few were produced before the error was caught, and even fewer have survived the passage of more than a century. Experts estimate fewer than 10 confirmed specimens are known today, making it one of the rarest circulation strikes ever issued under Australian authority. The coin's design elements are otherwise familiar. The reverse by a Blakemore carries the Commonwealth of Australia legend around halfpenny with the date below, while the obverse portrait of King George V by Sir Edgar Bertram McKenna L reflects the intended penny design, resulting in minor positional differences and spacing inconsistencies compared to a standard halfpenny. The I-mint mark adds further appeal, as Indian-minted Australian coins already carry a niche premium among collectors due to their wartime historical context. Historically, the 1916 halfpenny was born in an era when Australia was fully engaged in World War I, and domestic mint capacity could not meet demand for coinage. The Calcutta Mint was called upon to strike millions of Australian coins, both bronze and silver, to be shipped to Australia for circulation. The Mule error that created this legendary rarity is a perfect example of how intense wartime production pressures could lead to rare and now prized mistakes. In the marketplace, the 1916 Mule halfpenny is almost never seen, and when one does appear, it attracts global attention. Condition is often secondary to the mere fact of ownership, as even low-grade examples are immensely valuable. However, the few high-grade specimens known are national treasures, often held in advanced private collections or museum holdings. The rarity is so great that most collectors will never even see one in person, let alone own one. At auction, the record prices for this variety are staggering. A stunning example in extremely fine condition, showing clear Mule characteristics, and full detail in the king's portrait and reverse lettering, realized a high-grade market value of approximately $86,000 USD, and that was several years ago, suggesting even higher figures could be achieved today. For Australian coin collectors, the 1916 Mule halfpenny is not just the number one halfpenny, it is a once-in-a-lifetime acquisition, the crown jewel of the series, and one of the most captivating stories in the entire world of copper coinage. If you enjoy exploring the fascinating stories behind rare and valuable coins, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our deep dives into the world of numismatics. Share this video with fellow collectors or anyone who loves history. And let us know in the comments which halfpenny from today's list is your favorite. Your engagement helps us keep bringing you more hidden treasures and untold coin stories from Australia and beyond.